This is brown noodles that come out, and then at the top there's four places where the heat comes out.
I got the old square ones.
I like that.
I got the old, I didn't pay anything for mine.
Like, I think there's one that's called the area.
I paid a little bit for mine. I was a claims adjuster. I would go into basements and they would be flat.
Yeah.
People were gonna throw them away.
Yeah.
Well,
So there's.
you know, I was required to take south stations or anything that I thought would be valuable. So I would take those, I'd bring them home. I'd let reception lunch, maybe 2 weeks. But the electronics drive out. They were. I paid, I gave $20 for the one and $30 for the other.
Yeah, that just.
There you go.
Well, at least you were prepared. That would be hassle.
My manager just laughed at me. I know. I bought when wheels were real popular for kids.
After we had 21.
I bought 2 Wii's 1 week. I couldn't find them in the store, but I bought 2 of them. And took them and set them right on top of the dehumidifier and sat there for 3 weeks. Monica, we just had, Monica was pregnant.
Yeah, he was trained that way.
In case something that.
She hadn't done any Christmas shopping. I went to this lady's house.
Yeah.
I mean, all kinds of stuff. Called the manager and I'm like, hey, you know, I got a Wii, I got these games. The lady, the games weren't damaged, the Wii's weren't damaged. But the packaging material was. Because she told me, she said, my kid still plays in Santa Claus. How can I explain to him that this stuff's damaged? Lady, come on. She goes, no. I called the manager, I'm like, hey, this stuff's. I was like,
I just know the way he's confirmed.
Yeah.
And I just figured that out.
it was a 300.
And he was like, I
I felt like Stanford Son somebody just enough room for me to sit stereos.
That's the reason that finally write a credit check on Dave before they can hire him. They just want to know how much can you bid on yourself. Can we bring you in as the hiring person here? So, all right, you guys ready to get going here? What do we have for prayer requests this week? He did not?
No. That's how I thought. Then they went to see the heart doctor and he had a blockage. But it was real close to the blockage, or to that one stent.
Okay.
So the heart doctor said he had to have that surgery Wednesday, so they did a blood. They cleaned it out, the blood.
Okay.
And he's back home and he's feeling good. So his schedule, as far as I know, is scheduled for Wednesday.
Okay. Another prayer request.
Just family traveling for the holiday weekend, just traveling.
Remember those in the California wildfires? 72 dead now, I think. Who's missing?
Those will be interesting. Some interesting stories, I'm sure, will come out of that. So, I was out in the wildfires in 10 years ago. About 10 years ago, I went out for some wildfires out in California. And There's some scary stuff that goes on with those things. What else can we pray for?
Keep today's husband, Canaan.
Spell that.
Kainen. So down along our border, trying to protect from some of the migrants that are coming.
How long will he be down there?
We have no idea. I know the first group of the migrants, they have arrived at the California border. But,
The bad thing is that does not give him any credit for foreign service at all, does it?
no, it's domestic.
Right, so I
It's
mean.
considered domestic deployment. Yeah, so. They just kind of keep moving him around, like, to wherever they think the next group is going to come.
They move them all around.
You never know from one day to the next where he's going to be.
Does she have contact?
Somewhat, but he's not allowed to, like, divulge information, like exactly where he's at and stuff like that. He just can say, I'm moving again, and that sort of thing. So, at least you know he's okay.
Any others?
Pray for our friend Mary that we grew up with in that community. I talked to her yesterday to tell her I hadn't forgot about her, and that we were trying to get our schedules together, but just pray about that situation.
Okay. Any others?
Our daughter Michelle with health issues.
Any others? Let's pray. Lord Father God, we thank you for today. We thank you for the fact that you hear us, that you're here for us. We pray that you would be with us this morning for our lesson. Give us guidance and direction. Give us insight into the lesson. We love you and thank you in your name. Amen. So this week we are in the last part, or the second half of Ezekiel. Why does Ezekiel matter? What does as you read through the entire book of Ezekiel, why does that book still matter today? What are some reasons that you would say that we should read through or listen to Ezekiel? Or should we?
It's because reading Ezekiel is almost like watching the news. It's like it was prophesied onto the day. It's just like, especially what went on during the midterms. I mean, it's just like we're destroying ourselves.
The book of Ezekiel has some prophecy that is still to come, correct?
Right.
So we can see where there is there's some things to happen yet that Ezekiel is prophesying. What are some other reasons, though, that Ezekiel, that you look at Ezekiel? Is there verses in Ezekiel that you can look at and you go, this is the reason that book matters?
I wrote down in Ezekiel the words, again the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, He's making sure it's not he himself saying this. He's saying the Lord says. And and he's not putting them on him himself. And he keeps doing this all through. Read.
Ezekiel, would you agree that Ezekiel is not a proud individual? He's not standing there going, hey, this is what God told me, and this is I am here to tell you everything I know, and you must listen to me. I don't see him doing that. I see Ezekiel going, this is what God said. There's a humbleness that Ezekiel has, and a lot of that comes out of some of the things that he does. And so part of that I would agree with you is we sort of grab hold of the idea of how we should interact with each other out of Ezekiel. Not that humble, or not that proud, but that very humble, this is what's going to happen. This is what you need to know. It's not a proud, haughty message that Ezekiel brings here. What are some other things?
I think that, excuse me, when we see the glory of the Lord leave the temple, gives us a warning that God will, if we don't pay attention to God and obey Him, then God will leave us, which is what I think we're saying now.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think as you read through Ezekiel that really pops out to me with that idea, Mike, is the fact that the people acted in a certain way, and then the nation followed. So often we get the idea that we're going to scream and yell about the way that the nation is going, and we forget that we as the nation. And I think that Ezekiel really exemplified that when he kept going back and saying, you're acting this way, okay? If you look here, and I wrote some questions on the board. Do we hear but fail to listen? Do we ever have that? If you go to 33:32. Indeed, you are to them as a very lovely song of one who has a pleasant voice and can play well on an instrument, for they hear your words, but they do not do them. Back to the people and to the nation. How many times as people do we hear, but we don't listen? Okay? As parents, isn't that one of our greatest frustrations? When we look at our kids and we go, you need to, and we explain it to them, and that you get and then they walk out and they do exactly what it is that you just said not to do. Because what happened? They heard, but they didn't listen. Would you agree that is the children of Israel? I mean, is Ezekiel coming along and giving them any new insight, anything new that he's going, this is something that you've never heard before? Or is he telling them the same things he's heard up to this, that they've always heard up to this point? You were just reiterating what Jeremiah told them and all the people up to that point. I think he's just recycling the same message, isn't he?
Verse 31 says sort of the same thing. They say, but they don't do. 31.
So they come to you as my people do. They sit before you as my people, and they hear your words, but they do not do them. For with their mouth they show much love, but with their hearts pursue their own gain. Yeah. Do we hear but we fail to listen? How many of you know somebody that does that to you? Okay? Which would you rather have? The person who doesn't want to even hear? Or the person who wants to hear but doesn't want to listen? See, from my standpoint, I personally, if you're not going to listen to what I have to say, I really prefer that you not even hear it. Don't take up my time.
And you don't have to be accountable. Or if you don't listen, I mean, if you don't hear it.
Yeah, but there's not that frustration of, I told you that was going to happen and you didn't listen. Do you think that God is a little bit that way, is through Ezekiel here, that he's a little bit frustrated that he's telling these people, they're hearing, they're not listening.
You ever get that feeling? You come back from the grocery store, what was the last thing I told you before you went out the door? You know? So now you know how they feel.
You're telling us.
Is that memory though, Dave? Or is that, and I guess that's part of this though. The children of Israel, this wasn't a memory problem with them. Okay? It wasn't, now remember your multiplication tables. Oh, I forgot that 2 times 2 is 4. Okay? It wasn't that kind of memory. This is things that should have been written on their heart. These are things that they should have always remembered. These are things that they were called to. And Ezekiel is standing up and going, hey, remember? Did you listen? God versus God. Big G versus little g. Did the children of Israel at this point have an issue with big G versus little g? God. One God versus the other. Did they view themselves, did they view each other as little gods in a lot of ways? If you go to 28, in verse 2, because your heart is lifted up and you say, I am a God, I sit in the seat of gods, in the midst of the sea, yet you are a man and not a God, though you set your heart as the heart of a God. Behold, you are wiser than Daniel. Interesting little comment there. Apparently he knew who Daniel was. But do you see where this king views himself as a god? Had an interesting conversation this week with a friend of mine, and we were talking about kids playing video games and kids being involved in internet and things along those lines. But he made the comment that it's a fantasy world. That they're playing in a world that isn't real. That they are playing in a world that congratulates them for a little bit of nothing done. And as I look at life myself, I think that a lot of times, no, I don't play internet games. But I think that we're very shallow in that we pat each other on the back and we go, good job, for things that really don't matter. And we build ourselves up and we build each other up as little gods. I'm good. I am a good person. I do things correctly. Therefore, there's nothing wrong with me. And I think that in society today, we've got a lot of people who have never understood the salvation message, but are looking at it and going, I'm a God. I do good things. People reward me. People like me. People pat me on the back.
Are we good in our eyes? Oh, yeah. Now, wait a minute. Or are we good in God's eyes? Because we look at ourselves, oh, I've done enough. You know, I read one chapter of the Bible this week, and hey, I'm good, you know, and I go to, you know, I might miss this Sunday, but I'll be at church next Sunday and stuff. But we say we're good, but when it comes to God, now it's going to be a different story, you know. But they don't look at the God in heaven. They look at themselves and judging themselves as being good or whether they're good or bad.
Do you see where we have even, it's not even a matter of do we compare ourselves to God? Okay? One of the things that I think that we've fallen into is we compare ourselves to each other.
Well,
Okay? So I'm better than the guy who I work with in the shop who is having the affair, therefore I'm God. It's the idea that I'm a superior person because I have more morals. But it's not turning back to God, big G. Would you say that that's our society today? I think it is. And the idea that we have a tendency to want to look at the society and say, I'm better than. I know in my own life that's exactly what I do a lot of times, Dave. Is I look at it and I go, well, I've had my devotions. I heard him. I didn't listen to him. Or I have a tendency to compare how I live my life compared to this family over here, and I go, well, look how much better I am than them. Yeah, I may be, but the standard is still over here. So I think a lot of times we set ourselves up as little gods. Did it go well for this gentleman who wanted to declare himself a little god? Verse 8 says, they will throw you down into the pit, you shall die the death of the slain in the midst of the seas. It doesn't sound like this is really going well for this guy.
God rebuked him.
He did.
You know,
but it wasn't this slight rebuke.
No,
It wasn't a
judgment.
hey, you need to turn a little bit here. It was huge. Why do we fail to listen? And why do we want to make ourselves so often into gods?
It's our human nature, we just think we're good. Right?
Pride, human nature. Explain what you mean by pride.
It's kind of hard for me to find the words, but like, like you said, like our society is all about different things, what you have, you know, the way you live, and you're always trying, well, some people are always trying to make themselves, build themselves up just as themselves without God, that important piece,
Yeah.
you know? And it means nothing. Like what we try to do means nothing.
Except to us.
It does, but I mean, eternally speaking.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but what I'm saying is, we think that it does mean something.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where that pride comes in. We're going to look at my whatever. One of the things that I wrote down for that question was, we have no context. No context. In other words, we fail to understand the scriptures, so we think that all that life is today. We fail to listen. We fail to have an understanding of who God is. You said it's a human condition. Is it the same? Would you say that it's the same idea there? That we've just done away with who God is.
We think we can do it within ourselves, you know, a lot of things.
Let me ask you, does it have something to do with the idea that we don't listen and that we want to be little gods? Does some of that have to do with the fact that we really don't have a lot of hardship? If you look throughout Ezekiel, what did God use as the turning back the children of Israel back to Him? Put them in captivity. They were not treated real well. Does our affluent lifestyle, realize that's relatively speaking, but does the fact that we have no real terrible hardships sometimes affect our walk with God? I think it does. I can tell you that in my life it does. When we have trial, when we have hardship, when we have things that don't go well, we've got two choices. Either we can blame God or we can call upon God. And I think a lot of times for me, it forces me back to calling on God. But that's when we grow. And I think that part of the reason that in America today, one of the lessons learned for our nation that we can learn is that as long as we have everything, I don't know if America will turn back to, I don't know if they would listen to Ezekiel if he came forth today. Would you agree with that?
They probably think he's crazy.
I have a tendency to agree with you. Because we have no trials, no hardships that really are there. And don't get me wrong. I think we all have individual trials and individual hardships. But we don't have a unifying force that really galvanizes us and puts us back together as a country. It's just individuals. I think the other thing that we as Americans and we as the children of Israel really failed to understand is they failed to understand the times in history. So the old adage that those who fail to understand history are doomed to repeat it. they should have been able to answer these questions. The children of Israel just didn't get it, but I gotta go. Sometimes do I get it? With those questions in mind, my next one for you is, as a society and as a people, and as you read through Ezekiel, did they fail all at once in their following of God? As you read through the entire book of Ezekiel, did they fail all at once? Was there a cataclysmic event? Was there something that caused them to turn? Or how did they get in this position that they were in?
Probably a gradual thing. They just gradually.
I think it was gradual. If you read through this, you know, the old adage that you can eat an elephant one bite at a time, we a lot of times use that as something that if you just keep plugging away at it, if you just keep doing it, you'll eventually accomplish something great. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Satan sort of has that same adage sometimes? If I just keep twisting it and turning it just a little bit, I'll eventually get them to off. I don't think that we fail all at once. If you look at 43, Ezekiel 43, we're going to go all the way down to probably the C part of it. Write it down in their sight so that they may keep its whole design and all its ordinance and perform them. Write it down in their sight so that they may keep its whole design. In my opinion, the key word there is whole design. The whole design. Not just parts of it, not just pieces of it, but the whole thing. And I think that the children of Israel just want to keep pieces and parts and little bits here, little bits there. And I think they suffered for it. What are some other things, though, as you go through Ezekiel that you saw that were interesting to you, that many of you have ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Joel Rosenberg? Joel Rosenberg? Yeah. Okay. Joel wrote, I think, 4 or 5 books, and they're based out of Ezekiel. And they are based out of Ezekiel 38 and 39. Gog, and he's drawn a lot of it out of Son of Man, set your face against God, the land of Magog, the prince of Rush, Meshech, and Tubal, and prophesy against them. And he goes forth and he outlines that the idea that this battle that's going to take place is still to take place. Tells it in the form of a story. Pretty interesting. And he tells you who the players are. We've got Russia. We've got all the different players that take place. Things to come, as far as that goes. So that was one thing that is always interesting me. 38 and 39. What are some other things that were interesting to you as far as how you viewed the scriptures here, how they apply to us today.
I mean, just how, like you already said it, but how the state of our nation right now, and, humanly, it just seems impossible that things are gonna change back and we're gonna turn fully back towards God. But I have to tell you, this just came to me. I saw this week, there in the White House, there is, I think you can find it on YouTube, but there were faith leaders and like St. Israel, I can't remember who else was there, but Christian artists and high cabinet members. The president wasn't there, but it gives me goosebumps thinking about it, because here they are in the White House, they're all just standing, like it's not like a formal setting, and they just start singing, praising God. And honestly, I'm getting goosebumps right now. You have to try to find it and watch it, because it gave me such hope. And I told Jeff, I said, I wonder how long it's been since something like that has happened at our White House. It was amazing. So I feel like, there are good things happening, but,
I think that the story outlined in Ezekiel is really our story, and that it goes like this. Okay? There's times when the children of Israel, and look at the longer narrative, just not Ezekiel, but up to this point, and you can see where the children of Israel follow God and then they didn't. They follow God and they didn't. And it's back to the idea that we are the nation. We follow God, then we don't. We follow God, and then we don't.
it seems like we've had such a long season of not following God.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know. I have some hope.
Please understand, I'm not saying that this is all
I
doom and
know.
gloom
I'm just saying.
up to this point.
Yeah.
I am saying that you can sort of look at the history, you can draw some parallels between what is going on here in the Old Testament and what is going on in our current lives. The rules and the laws and the precepts of Scripture still apply today.
It's still relevant.
I mean, you can literally sit with this and read the newspaper, or whatever it is you read these days, whatever form of media you want to look at, and you go, this is going on.
And on the Fox News, they announced a big company in New York is now they're wanting to inject chips into their right hand so they don't have to have, they can walk in faster to work and get clearance faster and everything. That's just all right up there, because it tells you to put the sign in the right hand or the forehead. So, but just little things. It's we might think we're doing good, but we're doing great as far as prosperity right now. Jobs and everything. But people, when they get the extra money, they're doing good and stuff, they kind of drift away, and then it takes something. You notice every time something real bad happens, or we go to war or something, the church attendance will pick up a little bit and stuff. And it's just it's a vicious cycle. It just keeps running like that. As long as everything's okay, we don't have nothing to worry about. It's okay. So they drift away from God, and then they wonder why things happen to them or things go bad. But then when something tragic as far as nation-wise, then the church attendance will go back up again.
If you look at Ezekiel, Why did God put them into captivity?
Disobedience.
I agree with you there. But what characteristic of him would we say that was the reason that he did this?
Or you talk about putting,
Why would he?
Ezekiel in
Well,
in
why
there,
would he
or the
allow
whole
all these?
nation?
Why would he allow the entire? Why would he allow all the bad things that happened in Ezekiel to happen?
Because he's trying to make them realize what it's like without him. And like, what, you know.
And so what would we assign that characteristic to? Love.
Yeah.
You said when everything's good, nobody listens.
Yeah.
Okay? I think you can see where God is calling them back, and he's saying, look, I love you enough that I'm going to discipline you. I love you enough that I'm going to correct you. I love you enough I'm going to let you hurt yourself. Because I'm going to call you back to. Because I understand that you're not good when you're trying to be the little gods. But I also know that he couldn't come out and just because we have free will. He couldn't just go, all right, everybody listen. Everybody listen to me. Don't just hear me. Listen. And I think that that's part of the reason that Ezekiel takes so many years to happen, because he knew that they still had their own free will. But he loved them enough to turn their hearts back.
But God used Ezekiel to tell him ahead of time what was going to happen. Just like we are today. We know ahead of time what's going to happen, but we get complacent and we are living in our own lives, in our own little areas, and we are not seeing the big picture of what's going to happen in the future, so we just concentrate on that, and that's where we fail.
And are we destined to repeat
Over and over and over.
Over and over and over and over again?
We seem to be.
We really
We're
do.
doing it again.
We really do. Is that really the way that we learn, though?
It shouldn't be.
Say that again?
It should not be the way we learn.
I agree that it shouldn't necessarily always be the way that we learn. Unfortunately, in a fallen state that we're in, I think that probably is the way that we learn. The only thing I can go back to is looking at children, okay? Do I let my kids fail in the huge things of life? No, but I also know that I'm going to let them fail small. Let me give you an example. I'm not going to look at Tyler and tell him, hey, Tyler, come home whenever you want, and I really don't care what you do. I'm not going to do that. But by the same token, if I look at it and say 11 o'clock's the curfew, I'm not going to lose my mind when he rolls in at 11:02. You see what I'm saying? And I think that God here really is calling the children of Israel back, and he's saying, look, 11 o'clock's the curfew. And they're going, yeah, but we're coming home at 2. And I think that the children of Israel and us, we have to suffer the consequences, unfortunately, I think, a lot of times in our fallen state in order to really understand. We have to have those consequences. And I think that if you look at the children of Israel, God loved them enough to give them consequences. So if I never looked at Tyler and I never said, son, the curfew's 11. Would I really be loving him? No. Because eventually he's going to get to the place where he's going to have a job someplace. And they're going to say start time's at 7 o'clock. They don't get real happy when you roll in at 7:15 going, hey, I'm here. I think the children of Israel had to learn, unfortunately, like a lot of us, the hard way. Why did God put them into captivity? I think he put them into captivity for the same reason that we go into captivity a lot of times. Because we fail to hear, and we want to be our own gods. We want to be who we are. So, as you go through Ezekiel, Ezekiel's calling out, he's crying out and telling them, hey, turn. How often do we have people that are telling us, turn, don't go the way that you're going? How often do we fail to listen? Back to pride. Back to the idea that I really don't have to listen because I am little g, God. What else did you see with Ezekiel? We've got a couple more minutes here. Any famous sections this week? $37, dry bones live. We've most of us have read through that before. Can you imagine being Ezekiel? Final thought for you here. Yes?
You're ahead of us. Isn't some of these chapters you're in is next week?
No, they're this week. Aren't they?
I thought we were only supposed to do half the chapter this week and then half.
Guys, I'm a whole week ahead of you, aren't I?
Yeah, I wonder what it was going to soak in.
I skipped because of,
yeah, you skipped 25 and 28 and.
You're going to profit though.
That's okay.
I'm sure glad somebody brought that up because I was feeling really guilty that I hadn't read the whole thing.
Well, I think in the back of the,
I am a whole week ahead of you guys.
yeah, but I think in the back of the book, they skipped, there's a section missing there. And when you go back to look at the dates, there's November 12th is Ezekiel 16 through 18th, and then the 19th is 34 through 36. So, yeah, the book itself is a little.
Must be no content with those chapters.
Yeah.
We're here, but we didn't miss it.
Where do you see October?
I apologize, guys.
That's okay, we'll get through the Bible in a year minus 1 week.
Next week, we're going to Daniel. Is that fair? Okay. Next week, we're going to Daniel. Now, I apologize, guys. Okay.
And they whispered to me and she said, did we not read the right chapter? That's okay, I got Karen back.
I'm a week ahead of you. A lot of times in mine at home, because I'm working a week or two ahead a lot of times reading, so there's no dates to any of the books here. So I apologize, guys. I got a week ahead here.
So that means tomorrow we're starting Daniel tomorrow.
We are starting Daniel tomorrow.
Okay.
We're not skipping a week.
We're not skipping a week. No.
Okay.
At least you told us what we should be looking for when we read that.
Yeah, thank you. No, we're going to go to Daniel next week. I apologize.
I thought I was a week behind.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's all right. Let's conclude with a word of prayer and you guys can be dismissed. Lord Father God, we thank you for today. We thank you for who you are. We thank you for the fact that your word is still alive and it's still present and it still applies to our lives. We love you and we thank you for that. In your name, amen. No, I'm usually working a couple of weeks. That is the downside of this, is the fact that there's no dates to any of this. So it's not like you can go, hey, we should be here.
I hope you didn't listen.
No, because I thought I was going to.